What's going on, everybody? So here at the theater, just got to check out Antlers a little bit early, a day early, and I got to see it with a really good friend, Rashad G from Rashad G Reviews.
Hey, yo, how you doing? You know what I mean? Hey, some people call me the Italian stallion, but what's up? What's up? What's going on, y'all? Rashad G in the house.
So we just saw the movie really quickly. We're gonna do our own respective reviews, and you guys should definitely go check them out. I'll leave the link to his channel down below so you guys can go check it out. We're gonna go home and go film our own reviews really quickly, but real quick thoughts, what did you think?
Well, first thought, my head looks really big on this damn camera. Let me back up a little bit. Okay, there we go. The movie was... nah. First half was cool, second half sucked. Overall, I'll pass on that one. I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah, I'm not clamoring to rewatch it. I'd say like middle of the road. I didn't love it, didn't hate it. And, I'll get into the specifics of what I liked and what I didn't like, and I'm sure he'll do the same in his review. But yeah, quick thoughts. I just wanted to show you guys that Rashad and I got to actually meet in person for the very first time.
I feel like almost starstruck, man. Like,
I feel starstruck.
Because for 3 years, I don't see you on the screen. Now it's like you're here in person. Like, I want to ask for an autograph, man.
Yeah, so we got to finally meet, which was great. We don't live far from each other, so hopefully we'll start doing a lot more of this. But yeah, I enjoyed a lot about the film. I enjoyed a lot of the premise, but the execution wasn't there for me. And real quick, a big shout out to Darnell, our buddy from Rejected Heroes Media, for sending it. Yeah, he sent us the link. He sent us the link to be able to check out this movie a little bit early. So it's all thanks to him that we finally got to meet. So big shout out to him. I'll leave the link to his channel down below as well. Any final thoughts before we end this intro?
It stunk.
We'll leave it at that. So Rashad G Reviews, his link will be down below in the description box. Please go give him some love. Go check out his review, and let's get into mine. Alright guys, so I just got back home. Let's talk about Antlers. So yeah, it was really awesome to be able to watch this movie with Rashad G from Rashad G Reviews together. First time we ever watched a movie together, which was great, just being able to sit next to him, hear his commentary on the film, and just talk with him afterwards in front of the theater. That's one of my favorite things to do, is go to see a movie and then discuss it with the people that I saw it with right after. So to be able to do that with Rashad after all this time of doing YouTube together and doing these different collabs is really awesome. We really don't live that far from one another, and so we were saying it earlier that we're definitely going to try to make this happen a lot more often. But yeah, Antlers, got to check it out a day early before its Thursday night previews. So a big thanks, like we said earlier, to our buddy Darnell from Rejected Heroes Media for sending us the link for the opportunity to get an early screening for this movie. The theater wasn't too packed, thankfully, but yeah, it's always cool to be able to go see a movie early. So what did I think about Antlers? Well, this is a movie that I remember seeing the trailer for far before the pandemic and being really intrigued by. There was something about it that was just so creepy and eerie, seemed different, and I was really excited for it to release. And of course, then the pandemic happened and it just got pushed back like a lot of other films. But I had almost forgotten about the film. And when I started to see trailers and posters kind of reappear again, I was like, oh man, they're finally going to release this movie. And what I can say about this movie overall, after having a little bit of time to let it sit with me, after that clip you guys saw with Rashad, I ended up going to get some food with my fiance and, had some time. It's been a few hours now since I've seen the movie, so let it sit in my mind a little bit. And what I could say about it overall is that I think it's a movie that had a lot of potential, but it didn't really execute for me at the very end of the film. The basic premise, and I'm not going to get into spoilers, so you don't have to worry, but the basic premise, if you have seen the trailers, which is what I will be kind of basing my premise off, is, you have this kid who has some sort of issues going on at home. They very heavily imply that there's some sort of wicked, monstrous element to this film when it comes to this kid's home life and his parents. Now, this film definitely leans heavy into a child abuse theme throughout the course of the film, and I think at times they're trying to use real-life child abuse as well as what's happening in this movie as a metaphor from time to time. Sometimes it worked for me, sometimes it didn't work. But yeah, the basic premise is you do have this kid who is, dealing with something at home. Something weird is happening at home, and his teacher, played by Keri Russell, starts to take notice and starts to get involved. I think it's a thing that we've seen before in movies is, there's a kid with some trouble at home, whether it's a rom-com, whether it's just a comedy, whether it's a drama, whatever the case may be, and then there's maybe some adult that kind of comes across them in their life, and in this case, a teacher, which we also have seen in movies, who is willing to help and kind of wants to get involved. Of course, in the mix of all this, you have the horror element, because this is a horror film. It's actually produced by Guillermo del Toro, which I'm not going to lie, I didn't really feel his fingerprint on this all that much. But yeah, this film is also directed by Scott Cooper, who is not somebody I'm familiar with. I looked through the films that he's directed. There are a few films in there that I remember seeing the posters for and the trailers for, but I never actually got around to seeing. So he's not a director I'm really familiar with. But again, I was super intrigued going into this movie, and the premise seemed pretty cool. But what I could say about it overall is I just think it kind of missed the mark by the end of the film. I think in a lot of ways, it was an enjoyable film. I was engaged in what was happening, but, I never really found myself super attached to the characters and their story throughout the course of the movie. There is some really great cinematography in this film. There's definitely some really cool shots. I thought that the film looked really good. There's some great moments of lighting. The lighting in this film is really solid, especially in a lot of the dark scenes where they're using different kinds of colors of lighting to really light up these scenes. A lot of reds, a lot of yellows, a lot of oranges, which I felt really made a lot of these scenes pop, which is definitely some of my favorite things about the way that this film looks. So visually, I thought the film was really great. There's also a really great use of practical and digital effects, though there's a couple moments of some digital blood that definitely does not look phenomenal, but there are some great moments of special effects and makeup that I thought were really, really, believable, and I definitely was loving those moments. Some really cool horror visuals that I thought were really amplified by the makeup and some of these practical effects. But yeah, when it comes to the story of this movie, I never really found myself super attached to the characters, their journey. It was just one of those horror movies that I could see myself throwing on Netflix and just kind of being like, yeah, that was a good time when it was over, but not something that I can ever see myself revisiting or thinking about. There aren't any characters in this movie that really, latched on to my heart and made me want to kind of be a part of this movie once again and rewatch it. There's not even really that element in horror that's so entertaining and just, crazy silly and over the top and fun that even if the narrative isn't as strong, it can still be really entertaining. I found the film to be rather slow at times. Now, it does work for the film in a lot of ways, but sometimes I felt like I was just kind of thinking, I wish more was going on. The premise and a lot of the big horror moments in the film, I thought were really entertaining and were really well done. So this is by no means a bad film, but I think my biggest kind of criticism or my biggest kind of catchphrase that I would give my review for this would be that it's just short of its potential, just a little bit short of what it could have been. I think this is a movie that definitely, when it comes down to it, you have a really solid cast, you have a really solid cinematographer, and a lot about the technical aspects that make this film really solid. I think where this film kind of just lost its mark for me was the execution of this whole premise. Though what I will say is that the movie ends in a way that makes you kind of think like, oh shit, which a lot of horror movies do. Overall, what I will say is that I don't think this is a movie that you need to rush to theaters to see. However, if you ever see it on Hulu, Netflix, or any streaming service in the future, I do think it's worth checking out at some point. It's just not a movie that is absolutely mind-blowing for me. I think as somebody who was really looking forward to this film and went into this screening really hyped to see it, not only because I was seeing it earlier, but because I was already hyped on this movie, I was a little let down that the movie really didn't do a whole lot for me. By no means did this movie suck for me. By no means did this movie completely bore me. But, it's not a movie that I can ever really see myself clamoring to see again. Even having seen it a few hours ago, it's one of those movies that slowly starts to just kind of fly out of your mind as just another movie. Some really great positives you can talk about, but also some glaring negatives. And, of course, you have a lot of talented people making this film, so by no means do I want to crap on the movie. I do think there are going to be people who really enjoyed this film. My fiance saw the film with us as well, and she enjoyed it. She enjoyed it more than us, which I think is going to happen. You're going to have these individuals who are going to watch this movie and are definitely going to like it. I think for me, maybe I was expecting a little bit more, but overall, I liked it. I didn't think it was a bad movie. I didn't think it was a great movie. I just think it could have been executed a lot better, and I just wish that I cared more about the characters while I was watching it. I also felt that the final conclusion of what happens in the film kind of wrapped up a little bit easier than I thought it would, which kind of removed a little bit of the stakes for me moving forward as the film was kind of wrapping up. So that's going to be my final thoughts on this movie. I wanted to try to stay vague and not really get too much into spoilers, because I do think if you've only seen the trailers and you haven't really dug deeper into it, and maybe movie, you have no idea what this film is really all about, you may be able to check out this movie and be really into it and kind of, locked into the mystery that's unfolding over the course of the film. For me, it was fairly predictable at times, but I did enjoy it for what it was, but I wasn't crazy about it. Didn't love it, didn't hate it. So a big thanks to you guys for watching. Please leave your comments down below. Are you interested in checking out Antlers? Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say. And please go give some love to my boys down below, Rashad Reviews and Darnell over on Rejected Heroes Media. I'll leave the link to their channels down below. A big thanks to Darnell for hooking us up with the link to be able to get these early screening passes. And a big thanks to Rashad for hanging out with me and watching the movie, which was a lot of fun. So a big thanks to you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.